All right, showing you how I do this. Tune in some new tracks. This is a new Darlington I'm downloading from TMB Tracks. New Night Darlington. It should be good. The first thing I do is I'm going to go out on the track and just find what my best lap can be. I'm going to run about 12 laps or so, maybe like 2. Here's something too. Race 20. I don't know what that is. I'm going to go with the Jasper setup. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run 6 laps.
Keep it under 50. Keep
and
it
then
under 4,000.
restart the practice and run 6 laps again, and then I'm going to find an average of what my fastest lap time will be. Alright, I ran a bunch of laps, and I figure that high 29s, low 30s is where I should be. So what I'll do now is go back into a race, have the AI start the race, and we'll just sit here for a couple laps, and we're gonna see what speeds the AI is running. Low 29s, so they're way too fast for what I mean. They're way too fast. So what I'm gonna do is bump this down to like 94. Okay, this is more our speed, literally. High 29s, low 30s, best laps of the race for the AI. But right now, I had run a 29.9 somewhere, so right now we'd be in 4th or something. So I would settle on like 95, but for our purposes now, we're gonna run 96. Because what we're gonna do now is run a practice race where I'm looking at 111 laps. That sounds like a good thing for what I do, a good length for what I do. So I'm gonna want about 30, 33, 66, 99. So about 33 laps is gonna be our eventual fuel window. So I want to run 33 laps and see what my times are throughout the entire run. All right, and then what I'm doing here is I'm starting this race, but I'm also going to hang back so I don't, especially Darlington. I mean, these AI are going to be side by side in the turns. It's going to be bottleneck. Basically, I want to act like I am the lead, the car in the lead right now, nothing in front of me, and see what my speeds are. And we had when we were looking at the replay and stuff, we had found, you know, a decent lap time where I said I ran a 29.9 and we'd be in the top 5 or whatever. And then for this practice race, where we're really rolling up our sleeves and tuning in the AI, I bumped up the difficulty. It's because I don't want to be I don't want to be running with the pack all that much. So anyway, we're full tilt now. And I mean, this is nothing special. I'll catch you on the flip side of these practice laps. All right, we're about a third of the way through our practice run. I said 33 laps. Tire wear looks good, and I don't mean looks good racing wise. I mean looks good that, you know, tire wear's dropping some, but we'll still have tires by the end of 33 laps. That's what I want. All right, we have about 2 laps to go in our run. You can see my speeds have dropped off dramatically because we're at Darlington. That's what happens. But it's very crucial that these final 2 laps I take everything I've learned through the run and run my fastest laps I can because this gives us the baseline on what speeds we want the AI to be running at the end of, 33 laps. Looks like I've been running consistent 32 ones the last couple laps. Front right is having trouble. See, 32.3. So now this is going to be the tiebreaker lap. As I said, it's just so crucial to be consistent on these last couple laps. Because if not, you've pretty much wasted 20, however long it took to do the practice run, when the whole goal is to get consistent speeds here at the end. So 32.2, but that's where we're going to shut it down. So we want the leaders at the end of 33 laps to be in the low 32s. I'm actually just running one more for good measure here. It wasn't good. You might be able to see in the rear view that the leaders are catching up to us. Yeah, 32.7. That was just not a good lap. The leaders are catching up to us. I set this difficulty high. I'm not even really trying anymore.
Here comes the leader.
If you ever get into one of these test things like I'm doing, and the AI, the leaders catch up to you, don't freak out. Just let them just pull to the bottom of the track and let them go, because the whole point is just to get your lap times. And I know you could easily do that in practice, but cars are dipping off and on pit road. Sometimes you want to draft with some cars to help, to not help your speeds, but to simulate race lap times,
Go! Yes, we nailed that stop. Great work, guys.
So, now that that's done, let's take a look at this. You'll see, towards the end of the run, my fastest lap was the 29.8. That was the only time I broke into the 29s. Wow. And then late in the run, 32.1s. I mean, I ran, you see that 32.18 consistently twice? That's where we want to be. I'm writing that down. We want to be 29.8 through 32.1 at the end of 33 laps. And let's see what the AI is doing right now. Something else to do before we do this. Before we look at the AI, count the difference. Figure out the difference between your best lap and those final laps. So 29.8, 30.8, 31.8, that's 2 seconds, and then 32.3. So that's 2.5 seconds difference between our fastest lap and what we are at the end of the run. 2.5 seconds. I'm writing that down. Now let's go to the AI. And you can see they're running a 29.4. We were running 29.8. Jeff Gordon's best lap was a 29.4. And you can always just go, so they're running 29.4s. And I mean, our 29.8 is in the mid-teens. It's not bad. You factor in the draft, we pick up some tenths. I think this is actually a decent difficulty. Whatever percentage we picked right here. But you can see a 29.4, and then we want a 2.5 second change for them. So that'd be 30.4, 31.4, 31.8. That's 2.4 seconds. We're close. Let's check out the other drivers. That's a 2.2 difference, 2.1. So they're not exactly 2.5. They're not dropping off. Forget for a second, 32, that we ran a 32.1 and they're at a 31.5. Let's forget that right now. And I mean, that was below 2 seconds. Okay. So we want them running low 32. Like you can see, like the back end of the pack is kind of where, 32 threes, those are the good numbers. But what we want are these lead cars to be running low 32s. And right now they're in the high 31s. We want them low 32s. So what do? We go into the track's INI file, and the first thing we will mess with, because the speeds, everything looks good. The first thing we'll mess with is the track tire wear exp, the exponent. You can see they always give a description over there on the right. Greater than 1 gives a bigger fall off later in the run. Less than 1 gives a bigger fall off early in the run. We want them to have a bigger fall off earlier in the run, because we want them to be running slower earlier in their run. So you'll kind of get a feel on what these numbers do, like when you change by a 10th or a 100th, whichever one you want to do. Right now, we're going to change this down from 0.76 to 0.70 and see what that does. Always make sure that when you're doing practice runs, when you're doing these AI tests, have damage turned off, have yellow flags turned off. Don't let the yellow flags and cautions mess up all your, everything you're trying to do. So now we're letting this accelerate, and we're trying to get to lap 30. We'll stop it at like lap 31, 32, whatever. And let's find the leaders. All right, so they are 29.7, whatever, 31.9. Now we're dipping into the 32s. And this because, but you can see 31.5 there. 32. With the cars drafting and whatnot, it gets really dicey. Trying to figure out exactly what's going on here. But Carl Edwards, yeah, I mean, he's running low 32s, and that's kind of where we were. We were at the 31.9, low 32s. I think this is actually now good. I know it didn't take that long, and there wasn't a lot of trial and error involved here, but we'll get to the trial and error part when we start tuning in the fuel. But I think we're good here. I mean, you'll just have to. There's no. Again, it's not an exact science. There's no end-all be-all to, this has to be this exact number. The first 5 cars have to be running these within these 2/10. No, you just kind of get a feel like, hey, will I be able to keep up there? And I remember my lap times before the 32.1s, I was running 31.9 consistently, and then something happened. I lost concentration. I suck. Something. So it keeps. Basically, when you start dialing this in, you start coming up with your difficulty rating. So that's where we're at now. I think we're pretty good. I'm at 96%. Always write your percentages down. Darlington, 96%. And now we're getting into the good stuff. The fuel. Where are we at? Fuel use right now is 0.95. We want them to pit around lap 33 for fuel. This is just the number I know gets us close. It's 1.7. That usually gets us close to what I like. What I've been doing with kind of like a poor man's ×2 wear, you know. 1.7 fuel use usually gets us close, so we'll see. Probably not going to edit this out, like the waiting for lap 33 here. So what I'm doing is watching the laps, but I'm also watching the left and seeing when the cars start rapidly changing. There we go. They're starting to move. Lap 43, 44, 45 right now. So let's bump it up. And again, you'll get a feel for I changed that from 1.7 to 1.95. You'll get a feel for what these numbers, how much they change. Sometimes the best thing to do is just change it by a lot. And a tenth is usually a lot. Sometimes 2/10 is a lot. But once you start digging into this and having fun with it, the best thing to do is just change things by a lot so you can see what it does. And then you can just reverse it and fine tune it. So we're at 1.95. And that's still not enough. We got to go down even more because it looks like that was late 30s that they pitted there. So using my advice, we're going to 2.1. Don't worry about these numbers. Just put the numbers in that are going to work for you. Like, I don't know if someone out there is upset that this is what I do and I'm changing these numbers. I don't care. Like, I'm here. I want to get on Darlington, have fun, continue our season, run fast laps, feel like I'm in a race. You know, that's what I'm doing. I'm not worried about. All right, looks like we're close to 33 now. I think we still need to bump this up some. Let's go 2.2. And something else to remember too is when the AI their fuel starts going down, they start picking up speed because their car doesn't have as much fuel to carry. Their cars are lighter, so they'll be a little bit quicker. All right, we are close. You saw that switch around right near lap 33. So what we're going to do now is start another race because we know we're close. And then around lap 31, we're going to decelerate, put a camera on pit road, and see what they're doing. Pit lane. Okay, here's pit lane. Let's find the leader. I need to find these leaders and find what lap they're on right now. 31. So we don't want that. We want lap 33. This is the trial and error part of this. This is why sometimes I'm like, they might pit on lap blip blorp or lap blap blap, because I basically, have done all this and then I get down to it and I'm like, okay, they're close enough. Let's go. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I want to show you exactly what it takes to get to where you want. If you are a perfectionist, nothing wrong with that. All right, let's not screw up this time. We're on pit lane 2, and then let's find the leader, because that gives us what lap we're on. See? So we're still on lap 31, and they're still pitting. So you can see that they got faster. See their fastest lap, 31.7, when we wanted them to be at 31.9. So they're getting faster because their fuel's going down. So sometimes what you have to do, it's just all domino effects. Sometimes you'll see that their numbers drop drastically because their fuel went down, and you'll have to go back and change their tire exponent number. Now, it just gets crazy. Like, it's just a domino effect where you start changing things in those INI files, and it just starts having a it just snowballs, where different other things are affected by those changes you make, things you weren't even looking at. So now we're doing it again. See, now they're back in the 31.9s. Like, don't it's just tough. It's let's see, we're on lap 31. No pit stops. Now we're gonna wait. Okay, now they're pitting lap 32. So now I'm done. Like, I'm tired of dealing with it. We are so close to having this ready to go. So I know that they need a little more fuel. So I'm changing that to 2.03, not even testing it. It should be good. That's why, again, that's why sometimes I'm like, it's going to be lap whatever. But tire exponent number is good. Our difficulties number is good. That's it. We're ready to go. The track, to me, is tuned in, ready to go. And we'll see what we screwed up when we're racing, because maybe we missed something. But that's it. All right. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you have any questions or anything, or if something is muddy or you need clarification on something.